when you think about emotional marketing, you immediately think about Lego, or you think about the Nikes of the world, which like have millions and billions of dollars to spend on emotional marketing, but you don't have to do that. In fact, you could be a person who's just starting your business right now to do this research, and you would still kill it, like knocking off, because you've done the groundwork.
Welcome to the Clear Brand Academy podcast, where we take the mystery out of marketing and help you get more leads and sales with a clear brand and proven marketing tactics. I'm your host, Josh Ramsey, and today on the show, we have Talia Wolf. Talia is the founder of Get Uplift, the CRO agency and training space high growth brands like Teamwork, Bitly, Sprout Social, Thinkific, Mercedes, and Dario turn to get their funnels optimized and to create experiences that their customers love to convert to. She uses customer-centric methods and emotional marketing, and Talia and her team generate more leads and sales and ROI for their clients. Talia, I'm so amped for this conversation. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's been awesome. One of the first things I did when I found out you're available to speak on shows was I signed up to your newsletter, and I've been loving your emails. They are so great. Yeah, so thank you. I think we've been back and forth a couple emails with just practicing what you preach, emotional marketing. So tell me, how did you kind of niche into this space, and how did you get this name that you have for being so good at what you do?
Thank you first. I'm so glad you like my emails. And as you know, I reply. I love getting replies to my emails because then I know people are actually reading them and trying all these tactics, because the emails are quite long and they have so much stuff in them and packed like templates and worksheets. And then I always wonder, like, do people really read them? So good. So how did I get into this? Well, actually, when I first started doing conversion rate optimization, which was so many years ago, like, oh my gosh, I feel so old. I wasn't using emotional marketing, and we weren't using these tactics. We were following best practices, reading all the blog posts and trying to figure out, if I change this call to action button, will it work? Or if I change the headline, or if I make an image of a dog instead of a cat, those kind of things. Or if I reduce fields in the form, will people fill it out? Like the kind of tactical things that you do when you're trying to optimize anything, right? Mm-hmm. But it just wasn't getting the results that we needed for our clients. And I and my team, we basically started trying to figure out, so what is the root of every conversion? And the root of every conversion is a decision-making process, right? Someone has to feel something and then go through a decision-making process and make a decision to purchase, to sign up, to enroll in something. And then our goal was to figure out, so how do people make decisions? And as we started kind of digging into that, we understood that the root of every single decision in life is based on emotion. Everything, whether it's B2C or B2B, whatever it is, there's always emotion involved. And that's when we started developing our process, which was about discovering those emotional triggers, discovering the pains of our prospects, the pains, the challenges, the things that are keeping them up at night, and then their desired outcomes. How do they want to feel after they find a solution? What are they looking for? What are they hoping to achieve? And once we started doing that, it made our job so much easier, because the process of doing this, and we can get into it, but the process of identifying people's emotions and understanding their real intent, not, when I talk about understanding people, I'm not talking about age, gender, or geographical location, right? Or the browser that they're using. I'm talking about understanding who you're actually speaking to, the person behind the screen, not the ATM. And once you understand that, it's so much easier to know what copy to write, what design to create, and what changes to make and test. Because you can look at a page like your homepage or a landing page and say, oh, I'm saying this, but they're not looking for this, they're looking for that. I'm saying this, but this is the wrong thing. They're actually asking themselves this question. Can I answer it before they ask? And that's kind of the process that you go through is first you understand who you're speaking to, and then it's so much easier to optimize. And that's when we started, basically. It's a long answer to your question, but that's kind of where we started testing strategies and hypotheses and bigger concepts than just elements on a page, if that makes sense.
It makes so much sense, and it's like you're giving me language to really understand that something that I've been intuiting as well. A lot of, not a lot. I've only been involved in your content and really benefiting from it since we kind of initially connected, which hasn't been years, which is kind of what you summarized there. But one thing I have been blown away with is just how much you lean into that relationship between your offer and the customers. And you just mentioned here the language of how you connect with them. And I was just thinking, my background is kind of in psych, philosophy, coaching, and that kind of stuff. And relationship is when you understand each other, right? So if you're going to be connecting with your copy, and you give away so many gems around, asking the right questions of your customers and this. So I'm just super curious about this like deep pool of emotion that you're tapping into and using to help your customers almost give, like you've done to me right now, give me a language to describe why I need to change, why now is the time to like, let's do something about this. Like it actually really bugs me or whatever the case is. So, I'm just curious about that. Are you quite an emotional person? Is this kind of you just fell into, or did you just kind of find like this works and I have a growth oriented agency and that's where I'm going?
I mean, both. I'm a very emotional person and I wear my heart on my sleeve, and you can tell what I'm feeling just by looking at me. So that is who I am. But when we, CRO is CRO, meaning we run hundreds of tests and we do a lot of technical setup and we do a lot of data analysis. And then we have a team of developers and a team of data analysts, and we have conversion copywriters. Our positioning and our branding at Get Uplift is emotional marketing, is emotional targeting. And that's why people come to us. They come to us because they've tried testing a bunch of things, but they don't feel like, there's a couple of things. Either they don't feel they truly understand their customers, or they understand their customers, or they know who they're trying to target, but they're not sure what to say to them, which is very common. Like, how do I create an experience for them? The right design, the right visuals, the right colors, the right language. Or they're a very high growth company. They're running a bunch of tests and they're trying their best, but there's no actual process behind it. And there's no real strategy behind it. So a lot of people come to us for that emotional strategy because we build an entire process around it. That's how we work with teams like Bitly and Teamwork and others, because we create an entire process for them that's based on their customers and also helps them execute on relying on us, I guess, as they go on, because I don't want it to be... My previous agency that I ran, we would do all the work, but it was kind of like a black box where you would deliver all this stuff. And then when the client said, okay, I've had enough, they're kind of left with nothing because you've been doing all the work. So a lot of what we do at Get Uplift is training with people. So I think, to answer your question, we're branded that way, we're positioned that way. But I can tell you that many times I'll get questions like, but do you do like data analysis? Do you know Google Analytics? Because you'll think I'm like this emotional person. I'm crying or something. Or just,
read this email. No, I love that. I love that. I love that balance that you have, right? And I'm pretty sure that you make your own GIFs. Is one of the emails, there was a GIF. I'm pretty sure, and it blew me away. And it was you. Now I'm seeing that smile. For everyone that's driving right now, Talia's got a smile from ear to ear. So what I love is that you have this like heart on your sleeve, happy-go-lucky. Let's serve people. Let's almost, my words, like let's love people. Let's be kind. Let's do what we got to do. But at the back end, you're like, process, structure, here's the data, here's the results, here's the tracking.
Yeah.
What's that like? What's that like to kind of hold those together and just be so great at it? You mentioned some big names that you're working with. That doesn't happen overnight. So what's it like holding those two together?
I think it helps holding those two together, because if it was just the strategy and there's no actionability behind it, that makes it harder to sell. And there's great companies out there that could do branding for you or could do positioning for you. April Dunford, the queen of positioning, she's freaking amazing. But what we've gone ahead and done is not really look at it from that point of view, but really looking at, okay, what are your goals, right? As a company, are you trying to get more free trials? Are you trying to get more, sales for your e-commerce brand? Are you trying to get more students? And that is how we kind of look at it. So first we're looking at your sale and your KPIs, and we work backwards to, so what is the strategy? Now, most companies, when it comes to CRO, will try to just tackle specific elements. Oh, checkout, let's fix checkout. Let's fix the landing page. For us, I actually think it's easier because we have a strategy and we have something that we're built on. So when we start working with a client like Bitly, or even Mercedes, we did very deep research to understand exactly who it is that we're speaking to, what they need to hear, what they need to see, what they need to feel in order to convert. And that is the basics of everything that we do. So there's the research piece, which is great. And some people might say it's a bit of fluff, but it really isn't, because you leverage that for all our A/B testings. So after we do our research, we have a roadmap for 6 months of A/B tests that we're going to run. So we just completed a research for our client, and now we have 6 months worth of A/B testing ideas and a roadmap of what we want to do. And it all holds together because it's the research and the action, and it holds each other. You can't have one without the other. Otherwise, I'd be offering something else, which also is great, but we're tied to actually, that's how we're measured. We're measured by, okay, our conversion rate was 3% and now we're at 4, 5, or 6.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It kind of, I think in images, and I'm thinking of like an emotional teenager that has like a very clear structure of where to put that energy and where to approach. So I asked you about, how you balance those two, and what you came back with was the start of your process, which I'm super curious about, and I know we're going to get into. I think that's super interesting, is that we can't just, and maybe this is my inference, is that we can't just jump into emotions. We can't just be like throwing emotions around or even manipulating, because that's potential, that's possible as well. We start with this kind of analytical structure, and then from there, now we know kind of where the emotions are going to be useful. So that's really interesting to me.
There's a fine line, between what I'm talking about and deceptive design and deception. And so what I'm talking about is understanding who your customers are and what they need and providing them that. And there's a lot of companies out there using deceptive techniques to deceive people or to pressure them emotionally in any way to actually do things they shouldn't be doing. So, and those are two very separate things. My goal is that when a company comes to me and says, hey, we need to get 150,000 trials this year, I don't know, just made up number. My question would be, and what do these 150,000 people need? Right? Great, I know what you need. Perfect. That's a great KPI for us, and we're gonna try and hit that. That's our goal. But how do we make this happen in a way where we're getting the best customers, and that when they sign up, they're getting the best support system and the best product and outcome, and not, oh, we need to sell 15,000 tickets for this show, and how are we gonna dump people in there no matter what happens? There's a difference.
Yeah, I think that difference comes, I'm thinking of Spider-Man: with great power comes great responsibility. You've got a process that really works. You can deliver KPIs. And what I love about what you're saying is that you've taken responsibility for that. You're like, well, hold on. We can hit these KPIs and we can use deceptive marketing. We can use, ChatGPT is blowing everyone's brains and we can spam everyone with this and that.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, well, that might just like swing this conversation in a completely different way. So the thought I wanted to finish there was like, you're taking responsibility for that skill set that you have and really looking to serve. Again, you are so giving in your emails. Every email, there's like insights, and then there's like, go do this, go do this right now. So what do you find is super useful to kind of help people that might be starting emotional messaging? Is that a different recommendation to those that have dabbled a bit? Where do you find people go, wow, when you say, just try this?
Well, I mean, the email sequence you're referring to, for example, is a welcome sequence that we've built that's designed to help people on that journey. It's a 5-day like free course kind of thing where every day we teach you the basics of it. Ultimately, when someone asks me, where do I start? It's the same for whether you have been doing this for years or you're just getting started. You have to get started in the foundation. What normally happens is people skip this step because it's hard. It's not easy. Nothing we do is like, oh, here's a magic, here's a rabbit out of a hat. That's not it. And I always say this to our students too that take Emotion Sales, the course. I say, literally, the first thing I say on the course is, this is a hard program. You have to really work at it. I'm not selling magic. There's no magic beans. It's just hard work. Because it's much easier to look at a website and say, oh, best practices say you shouldn't do this, so let's just do that. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you,
turn off your brain and no, you can't turn off your brain. Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah.
No, you're right though. It really is that. And I'm saying, don't do that. Go back to basics. Basics means run a customer survey, run a visitor survey, interview people. Do review mining, which is something that Joanna Wiebe teaches. It's incredible. There's so many different things, but the goal is, and I can get into each one, but the goal here is you want to identify who you're speaking to and what they're trying to achieve, what challenges and pains they're going through right now, and how you can solve that for them. And you need to ask the right questions, and you need to go back to the drawing board or your back cave and do that research that really points out the important things. So for example, and I literally sent an email about this yesterday, when you ask people, how would you grade this website? Or why did you buy from us? You're going to get really bland answers. You're going to get, well, I needed a dog chain, well, I needed a collaboration tool for my team. But that's what most surveys look like today. And you also get these surveys like, how would you rate us 1 to 10? What are you doing with that information? Like, other than saying 9 out of 10 people will recommend this company. These questions make no sense. And we like to ask important questions that will help us understand how people think and why they're making decisions in life. So you could ask them questions like, when you weren't using this solution, how did you solve this problem? Right? One of my favorite questions. And I love it because it helps you understand who your real competitors are. So a lot of the times we just assume that our prospects are out there trying our competitors, when in fact they might just be using a spreadsheet. They might be hiring a VA. They may not be actually solving any of this, and they might just be sitting there going, well, I have back pain, but I'm not going to do anything about it. So it helps you understand how they're actually solving the problem right now, why it's not working, and why they're looking for something else. So you want to really ask meaningful questions that help you understand who's behind the screen. And that means doing surveys and interviews and social listening and review mining and competitor analysis and stuff like that. And that's where you start. That's the beginning.
I'm constantly holding this image of a kind of a relationship in my mind. And you know what you're talking about, I'm married, have been for a couple of years, and it's hard. Like deep relationships are hard, whether they're in the real world between people or they're between businesses. And again, you know, you do this, we mentioned a bunch of B2B examples, B2C, this works across the board. And I just think that metaphor of like, it's hard to put in time to get to know this person in real life and in this business space. It takes, like, as you say, it takes a lot of effort. But when you understand them and how they speak and what they're looking for, then you've got the buy-in. I read your emails. I'm looking at the one that you mentioned that you sent me yesterday. I'm looking at it right now. It is a long email. It is a long email. And I read the whole email. And that's because somehow, well, not somehow, we've talked about, you know, how you do this with you know, your approach. But I feel like I'm in a relationship, you know, quote unquote here with, it's not just like, oh, you want to dominate 2023, here's 5 tips. You don't follow these, you're a loser. It's like, I don't want to be in a relationship with that person. That's like the bully from grade 5, you know? Like all of a sudden I've got this message with someone that I'm actually getting to know. So yeah, I don't know what the segue question there is, but you know, what pops up when I say that?
No, I love that, because I think when I talk about this process, it's always in regards, you know, in that window of how do I increase conversion rates, right? How do I get more sales? But I think what a lot of people don't look at is that ultimately every relationship that you have is this way. So if you want to have a good relationship with your email subscribers, you also do that. And even myself, when we get Uplift as a team, we work with other teams, we're doing the same. We're trying to understand the people we're speaking to, and who is this VP growth? Who is this CMO? What are they actually looking for? How can we support them and deliver a better experience? So you're right, it's online and offline, and there's no, you know, it's not where it starts or where it ends. But I can tell you, because you mentioned, oh, this is hard, right? And I said the same. Here's why I think it's worth it though. Because in the world that we live in, there are thousands, tens of thousands of messages that our customers are seeing today in a day, right? We see ads and we get app notifications, and we're constantly bombarded with information, and everyone's trying to grab our attention. It's not just your direct competitors that are your competitors. It's also Coca-Cola, and it's also the pizza person that just arrived at the door, and it's everyone, right? Everyone that grabs your attention. And in this kind of world, if you want to stand out and if you want to create something that really scales and lives and outlives a lot of the competition, if you do this research and if you go beyond the basic tactics, then you stand out in the crowd, which is exactly what you just mentioned. I open some emails from people and I either unsubscribe or I just go straight to spam, because I feel like I'm being yelled at, shouted at, or told like everything is, you know, this is the rule. This is what you should do. This is how to increase signups by 300%. No, this one thing. Everyone's trying to grab your attention. But for me, I make it my job, which it is, to figure out what are my email subscribers trying to learn from me. How can I best benefit them? They can go on Google any minute and say, increase product page for e-commerce tips. Fantastic. But when I write a blog post about it, I go deep into the psychology of it, and I go deep into, here are some examples and why I think these don't work, and here's how I would make them better. But this is as a result of me trying to and constantly trying to understand who I'm speaking to. And that's what we should all strive for. But it's really hard because you've got KPIs to hit, and sometimes you're wearing multiple hats within the business and you don't have time to do it. But you should, because it's worth it. This is how you stand out, and this is how you get people to open your emails or buy from you, and not your competitor.
Yeah, I mean, priorities, right? There's a priority list. There's so many emails that come in, and I got so much time, and I'm going to read certain. And even in relationships, there's priorities. Like I've got people I'm in relationships that I prioritize over others because of how they treat me, because of how they understand. So anyway, I won't harp on too much about how I'm understanding it. So let's imagine there's that guy or gal, we'll just throw a quick avatar out there, finance, left brain, completely analytical. I don't have time for this emotional stuff. We just got to grow the business. What kind of numbers are you seeing? How do you convince that person that is not, and again, I know you're not convincing. I know you're not persuading. You're offering this service and you've got these results, but you mentioned 3 to 4 to 5% conversion upgrades. What are the numbers are we seeing in the emotional marketing, emotional messaging space that really just data smash anyone that would be naysaying?
I mean, to be honest, and I also shared this in yesterday's email, we've had success, like incredible success. We've helped Teamwork's comparison pages, for example. So if you're in SaaS, comparison pages are a big thing, especially if you're in a crowded space. So Teamwork, which is a project management solution, is in the space with Asana and Monday and Reich and like huge companies. So how do you stand out? So they are extremely specific and focused on their ideal customer, and they know exactly who they're speaking to, which is people that do client work like myself. They have built a wonderful, brilliant product that is dedicated to people that do client work, for teams that need to collaborate on client work and work on retainers. And what's brilliant is that we were able to create comparison pages against some of the biggest, companies out there by using the right language, appealing to these companies that do client work, and increased their conversion rates by 54% by a single page, right? Now, this isn't an impact on the entire business. It's just specifically a comparison page, which is great. But we've been consistent about it with many other pages and many other assets that we're optimizing. We've seen, increases in homepage signups. We've seen increases in e-commerce signups for our clients by 50%, by 100%, by 15%, depending on the size of the company.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And again, it's an important enough thing that grabs my attention, and it's speaking my language, and I go, oh, they're talking to me. I was chatting with someone recently who was giving some tips on outreach, helping people get booked on podcasts, actually. And he said, creating a pitch video, the first thing you want to say is the person's name, because they prick up. And I guess it's kind of the same thing, that people, when you say something, they're going, oh, you're talking to me? Oh, me? no one else? It's me. Yeah. And then they go, okay, cool. Well, what are you saying to me? And they're the results, proofs in the pudding. Amazing. Where do you want to see emotional messaging go? Where do you see this going in the next couple of years, with all the disruption, with all the things that are happening? How do we make sure that this is a part of how we grow as well?
At the risk of mentioning it, ChatGPT, but also automation, AI, machine learning, all the buzzwords, right? We're all in this hamster wheel. Everyone's in the race to find something to automate everything, right? Where you wouldn't have to work, essentially.
Let's just call it what it is. I
mean, yes, like years ago, it was like these automated Facebook ads where you wouldn't have to write ads anymore, and it would automatically write the Facebook ad for you. And then you'd get these terrible ads with like spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes. And why do I bring this up? I bring this up because no matter what the technology brings and where we go, we're still selling to humans, and you're going to have humans write copy. You'll need emotional messaging. You're going to need to connect with people, especially because we're becoming a less and less connected world. I know it sounds funny because the internet has made us all connected, but it's also really driven us apart from each other. And that means there's a disconnect between these machines and all these, apps and all the technology and the person that's sitting at home and just like, looking for a t-shirt or just wants to buy the perfect gift for Christmas or, needs a scheduling software to figure out what's going on. We're just people behind the screens. And all this technology is great, but what I'm hoping is that people will still understand, yes, you can leverage technology. Yes, you should leverage technology, but never forget the people behind the screen. And you should always think about that person. You should always figure out how you can do more that is precise and specific and emotional and relatable. And I don't think machines can do that yet.
Yeah, I like that. Little bit of cool-headedness in the midst of frenzy of I don't want to work. I think you nailed just that piece, like the emotional need behind so many people's adoption of scale it and automate it. Okay, cool. So that I think that's absolutely fantastic for the listener who's listening right now, and they go, great. I think this might be the missing ingredient in my funnel. There seems to be something wrong in the way that I'm, my sequence or, so much jargon in our industry. But I'm sending out I've got a process of building relationship with my customers. I'm asking them to do something. It's dropping off somewhere. I don't know where. How do they figure out where it is? How do they figure out what to do about it? And then hopefully upgrade using, your understanding here of emotional messaging.
Great question. So when it comes to optimization, it's actually quite easy knowing where the problem is, right? You can go into Google Analytics or to your email platform and you see, well, people aren't opening these emails, or, well, everyone just drops off here. No one's clicking this button. No one's converting to the next page. So kind of uncovering where the problem is, that's sort of easy. The problem is, and it arises when you look at your landing page and you know for sure that's the problem, but you have no idea how to optimize it. And that's where this process comes in place. So the goal for you is to do some of the research that I mentioned, and, we can get into it, or you can read a lot about it in my blog. As you mentioned, Josh, I share everything for free. So all the questions that we ask in surveys and how we ask them and how we conduct interviews and how we do social listening and what review mining means. But once you do all this research, what you're going to come out with is, who am I actually speaking to? What are the pains and the challenges that they're feeling right now before finding a solution, and how they want to feel. And once you have those top 3 pains, top 3 desired outcomes, but real ones. I'm not talking about if you come back and say it's pricing, it's features, I'm going to send you back to your drawing board, because it's not. It's got to be deeper than that. They're not looking for better pricing. They're looking for something specific. And I can give an example, for example.
Please. Yeah.
So Power Up Toys is a brilliant, brilliant company that helps you turn paper airplanes and basically allows you to fly them with your mobile. So you attach Power Up. I swear, it's so cool.
I'm sold. Where do I... Okay, sorry. Go.
Coca-Cola bottles on them, but essentially it's a device you attach to your paper airplane or your watermelon, I don't know. You attach it to it and then you fly with your mobile phone, right? Brilliant product. And we worked with them on trying to increase their sales on the website. They were selling really well on Amazon and they wanted to do more on their website. And what was super cool was that we did an interview with some people and we said, so, what made you, what was going on in your life that made you look for a solution like this? Which is a brilliant question, because it's not, hey, why did you come to our website? It's what was going on in your life that made you search for this kind of solution. Now, this is just an example of one of the thousands of questions that Joanna Wiebe, if you haven't heard of her, I don't know where you are. Joanna Wiebe is the OG conversion copywriter. She has a list of hundreds of questions that you can ask, and it's just one of my favorites. But it's perfect because it makes them think, what was going on in my life? What was happening? So a lot of people, when we asked them this question, they said, well, we were looking for a birthday gift, which is okay. Like, it's nice, but that's where everyone would stop, right? Oh, buy Power-Up toys for a birthday gift. Yeah. Okay, that's where people stop. But our next question was, cool, but why Power-Up toys? And then you get answers. And I'm actually, I'm going to read it because I'm just working on this slide. People said, I love DIYing and tinkering with products to make them fly. Our oldest son loved paper airplanes. We had trouble finding the floor for all the planes he used to make. It takes me back to my childhood flying paper airplanes in the classroom. That is the why, right? I asked them, hey, why are you on the website? We're buying a birthday gift. That's where everyone stopped. I said, why? And suddenly you get these amazing testimonials by people
man. I mean, I can see that ad campaign, like, be a child again, get back in the classroom, da-da-da-da-da. Yes. It's like, yeah.
But that's an example, right, of doing real research and going deeper. And we leverage that for Power-Up toys to actually create a better homepage for them, better product pages for them, better emails for them. And we got 97% increase in sales by understanding that, right?
Oh, Talia, that's so cool.
It's just about going deeper. That's amazing. What was the question?
You did. The question was something about what do I do once I found the problem, and the solution that you gave us was you learn what they're trying to solve, and you get that deeper level of why around what's motivating them. And as you say, like, you've got 4 campaigns right there. Just, you've got a kid running around making cardboard armor with propeller suits, and I mean, it's just right. Pretty picture. So
actually, let me
go. Yeah.
Let me make it even more actionable because I kind of skipped over it, right? Because we went, these are all the amazing insights, and then we increased their revenue. So let me just bridge that gap.
Awesome.
Once we had that information, we went back to their homepage and we were like, okay, are we saying this stuff? We're absolutely not saying any of this stuff. The only thing they had on their homepage was smartphone controlled paper airplane. That was the headline. Buy now. This is classic for everyone. Most people do that. You describe what you're selling, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll have a sale like, buy now, 50% off. But we looked at the homepage and we're seeing all this information and it's not relevant to what people are actually looking for. Now, I mentioned one target audience, right? Which is the dreamer, the person, the hobbyist, the person that remembers their part, as a child. There was also another type of audience, which I won't get into. They're more like tinkerers and people that like love building stuff. But nothing on the homepage actually spoke to any of those. But it was so much easier to identify that because now we know what people want to hear. So when we're reading the copy, we're like, no, right? We're smart asses now, right? Because we know, like, it's easy. Why are we doing this? So we just changed the copy. I'm saying just, but we used copy formulas from Joanna Weeb. We used different types of things in order to change it because now we know. And that's what increased our conversions. We used copy formulas and we wrote a new product page and we worked on a new video and we created a new navigation for the website based on, what are people looking for? How do they navigate through the website? Okay, now we know. So that's just to kind of bridge that gap of like, it's not like, great.
Yeah.
90%.
Yeah. I really appreciate that. Again, just leaning into how pragmatic you are and just driving value. So on that, do you kind of work with your clients and then make like a playbook or a brand script or something that they can then, squish into all these different corners? Or it's like, okay, we need a copy page. This is the only thing we're going to be doing and using this for. Let's get that data, that emotional messaging. Because you mentioned changing scripts, and I mean, I'm sure that works wherever the collateral is, right? I mean, is it?
Yes. Yeah. So, when we do our research, we kind of present a slide deck with everything that we've learned. A big part of it is messaging. Another big part is all our A/B testing suggestions. What we usually do after that is we essentially go beyond and kind of create a slide deck for the sales team, if there is one, or for the product team,
Amazing.
or customer success, and say, here's everything that's holding people back from converting, and here's what you could say instead. Here are the roadblocks, here are the things that are missing. And we usually try to do a couple of minutes with each team in order to train them on that stuff. Because as you mentioned, it's not just for landing pages, because once you have this information, you should be able to optimize everything that you do. It could be in the way you ship your product if you're an e-commerce site. So we create different slide decks for different teams to help them. Like for the sales team, sometimes it's battle cards. Right? If someone says this, here's what you could say. Or if someone says this, here's what they probably mean. Like they're saying that, but they actually mean this. So we also help with that kind of stuff. And we have, as I mentioned before, like a roadmap of tests. So sometimes we'll immediately write a new landing page from scratch and start testing it. Sometimes we'll say, here's what we're thinking this is. Let's go and test just this hero section on your landing page or hero or your homepage. And while we're doing that, let's work on a few other tests. So we work with our clients on like more of a retainer base where we're just constantly running tests and optimizing for things and learning from those tests and then creating more. So
it's just blowing my mind. I'm sorry. I'm just... Because you can take the idea of this like avatar, custom avatar, that this person that we're trying to address, right? And we sit here and we imagine it. We go, okay, well, let's imagine this boy in his room trying to make a paper plane. And it's this figment of our imagination. There is that boy in a room somewhere that's done it. And you just found their language, right? So there's actually a real, as you said in our conversation about, AI and not wanting to work, there's a real human. There's an actual real human that has these feelings and emotions, on the other side. Can you give us an example of something that's not as cool as a paper plane that you can control, with a smartphone? Like, what is the dullest product or service? And you don't have to name, but like, what was you surprised by? We're like, oh my gosh, we're selling calculators. We're selling bricks. We've found an emotional message for a brick. This is astounding.
I have actually done for banks, which I think can be super boring. We worked on
it can be
market saving stuff, which to the regular eye would seem very boring. But it isn't. And I think when people hear about this emotional targeting method, they say, yeah, totally get it. B2C, of course that works on e-commerce, of course. But actually, the biggest clients that we have are B2B companies, like Teamwork and Bitly, for example, because they have the understanding that people that buy B2B products still have emotions behind their decisions.
Yeah.
And
decision maker is still a human.
We're not. Yeah. So ultimately, it really is about. We've done things with, as I was saying before, like bank accounts and saving accounts, and a couple of years ago, we worked on a platform for QA developers. So like just a software that only QA people use, right? And you think that would be boring, but there was so much emotion in there. It was so cool. What we identified.
Oh man, I love hearing you get amped up about QA software.
I get so excited about everything, but everything with my job, But essentially what was cool is that when we did our research with these QA engineers, I think they're called, sorry, it's been a few years.
Quantity analysis?
It's quality analysis.
Okay.
So
QA, of course, yeah.
Yeah, QA. Like these are the people that once the developer's done all their work, will send it to the quality analyst, and this person will check to see if the code is correct, will check if things work, will make sure there's no bugs. So they're like really hands-on. And what we discovered was that most of these people were actually feeling really underrated, and that they didn't feel like an integral part of the team. They felt like they were running after their superiors or like their colleagues that were developers, or designers to get them to even listen to them. So a lot of what we did with the messaging was to actually uplift them and like talk about the fact that using this software, you become a much more like integral part of the team because everyone's working on it and everyone needs your approval to go forward. So there's still emotions there, right? So that's just an example.
Yeah, I mean, and thank you for the example. I think it does just help paint the spectrum as well. And I just want to thank you for working with banks because more power to you. Like we need you in every banking brand needs emotional messaging. And what I'm hearing when I hear you speak is an equalizer, right? This is an equalizer. I'm just thinking about the Super Bowl ads that have just come out and it's just crazy that people go and like Google the ads. Like we want to go watch the ads. Like, did you see the ad? Like that's the status that these commercials have. And in those spaces, gotta say, maybe it's just a little bit of lazy marketing. Like if we buy this massive name and people really attracted to the name and then we shove them in that advert, people watch it because did you see the John Travolta ad versus this equalizer that you have that anyone can connect to their message, connect emotionally to their customers. Anyone can do the hard and simple work of understanding why they buy and where they buy and who, all these reasons. And we can create amazing marketing collateral that doesn't just block up the inbox and, make you cringe when you look at billboards. Like this is a cool world where like there's great marketing and it's serving a purpose. So thank you for equalizing the playing field.
I'm just so happy you said that because I feel like when I get on stage and I teach this, I show like examples. And the first thing I say is you don't have to be Lego or Nike to do this. Like when you think about emotional marketing, you immediately think about Lego or you think about the Nikes of the world, which like have millions and billions of dollars to spend on emotional marketing, but you don't have to do that. In fact, you could be a person who's just starting your business right now to do this research and you would still kill it, like knocking off because you've done the groundwork. So you don't have to have big budgets like these companies. And that's a great advantage to it, especially like if you are up against huge companies, right? And you're thinking, well, they have all the funds and they have all the budgets and the resources and the people. You also have to remember that these companies take 6 months to put out one freaking ad, but you could do your research in like 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and then bam, you've got something out there and you're like testing and moving fast. You're like, okay, this doesn't work. Okay, this doesn't work, but this does. Oh, wait, let's try this here. You've got the agility that these companies don't, and you don't need the budget. So it's just, it's an equalizer, but I think it's even like a secret sauce, right? That you can leverage that your competitors aren't.
Come on, I'm getting up out of my chair. I'm going to go to the streets. I'm going to grab an emotional messaging flag and I'm going to be waving it around the streets. Come on, people. Okay, so is there anything else you want to drop? It's been such a beautiful conversation, so much value. Is there anything else you want to unpack before we dig deep into, well, not deep, but we dig into where people can find you, how they can do your course, how we can forward the movement? So is there anything else you want to drop in here before we go there?
No, I don't know. I think we could talk Harry Potter. We could talk about Spider-Man that you mentioned. Or Ant-Man
So here we go. The final question. Very, very important. Very, very important. How does Harry's journey of realizing identity relate to emotional messaging?
Oh my God.
And how companies can be the Harry in their own industry. There you go. The stage is yours. TEDx speaker Talia Wolf will now lead us through an analogy of Harry Potter and business. Go ahead.
I have so many, actually. I think I did a whole presentation once about how Harry Potter and emotional marketing work together. It was back in 2015, maybe. So I'd have to review my slides again.
Can you give me the cliff notes? Can you give me the summary?
Well, I think I was just talking about the story, right? Because I think one of the things that people talk about all the time is don't write long copy. Like, people don't read. And we started with this, right? You started with, I read you emails. But Harry Potter has a journey of the hero where he starts out in where all heroes start, which is, I'm not a hero, I have a problem, I have a challenge, I haven't tried to fix it, I'm not going to fix it, or I've tried but I failed, I'm never going to do it. And then along comes this amazing mentor, right? In this case it's Dumbledore. With Luke Skywalker it's Yoda. There's the equivalent of everything. Or with Spider-Man in the MCU it was Iron Man, right? Along comes this mentor that says, you could be this amazing person, you could do all this stuff, but they have to go on their own journey and discover it and identify with it and become their own hero. And the reason I'm saying all this is because I think in our rush to not write long copy, we're forgetting all that story. And marketing is all about telling stories. It's all about telling your customer's story. You have to make your customer the hero. And I think a lot of the times we think as brands that we're the hero, but we're not the hero, we're the mentor, right? We have a customer, he or she are the hero of the story, and our job is to navigate them through that journey and show them that they can make a change, that this time it will work, that this product will be the best for them, and they become the champion of their company, or they become, they feel better about themselves with the new, shirt that they just bought, or they feel safe with the insurance policy they just got. But the idea is storytelling matters, but you have to tell your customer's story, not your own. And that's the same with, all the best stories ever written. Done.
That was the expectant Patronus of responses. We are illuminated. We are rallied up. Thank you so much. You've really just practiced what you preach in terms of that being that guide, rallying us up that we can do more with our marketing. We can do more with our emotional messaging. It's not easy, but it is simple. So, Talia, where do people go to learn from you? How do they get the emails that I'm enjoying? What do you want our listeners to do right now?
You can go to our website, which is getuplift.co, and there's a blog full of all the things that you need to read. You can sign up for our email list and you can get the same course that Josh is doing, which is the 5-day free course where I teach you emotional marketing. And you can also take the actual course, which is Emotion Sales. And yeah, there's a lot of content on the website. You can also follow me on LinkedIn or on Twitter. On Twitter, I'm less about work, but you can follow me. Get more about
nice caveat. Yeah, MCU, Harry Potter, Spider-Man. That's Twitter. If you're interested in that, that's Twitter. If you want to learn about emotional marketing, getuplift.co. I'm gonna go check out that Emotion Sales course myself. Talia, it's been a masterclass. What a beautiful conversation. Thank you for your time. Thank you for giving back your value to everyone that gets an email from you. And I really recommend everyone go and check out getuplift.co. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Clear Brand Academy podcast, where we take the mystery out of marketing and help you get more leads and sales with a clear brand and proven marketing tactics. If you liked this podcast, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to outsource your marketing to our team, go to clearbrand.com.